guys, my name is Mateo Reynes.
I'm Dylan Freeman.
I'm Kennealy.
And we are back after a Thanksgiving week. We took off. There was a lot of news in between, and there was a lot of baseball news. The couple of signings that have just happened as the stove heats up and the hot stove begins is Mike Moustakas to the Reds, Yasmani Grandal to the White Sox, and the White Sox retained Jose Abreu, Zach Wheeler to the Phillies, and Cole Hamill to the Braves. The big name guys are still staying strong, so they have not signed yet. Also, college football. Oregon lost to ASU. Very disappointing. Oregon's not going to make the college football playoffs. The top five right now is Ohio State, LSU, Clemson, Georgia, and Pac-12's Utah is number 5. And the outside looking in, Alabama lost to Auburn last week, so they are not going to make it because, wow, that was very surprising to me. But if Oregon beats Utah in the Pac-12 championship game, then Utah will not make it, which I will be at. All right, going into the NFL slate of things, the first games were Thursday, and the first game was Bears versus Lions. The first half, the Lions had control. They were up 17-10 at half behind third-string quarterback David Blau's performance. He really surprised many, came out of nowhere. He was literally, at the beginning of the season, the lowest-rated quarterback in Madden. So he had a good first half, threw a couple of touchdowns, and then in the second half, Mitchell Trubisky came out, threw a couple dump-offs, and got the victory for the Bears.
Oh, yeah. Everyone knows how much this is a pro Mitch Trubisky podcast. We love him so much.
Oh, yeah.
If you watch the game, you'd know Mitch was quite underwhelming throughout as usual. But to his credit, he had a quality second half and came out with the W with a great performance in the fourth quarter. He didn't have many explosive plays or throws downfield, but you can't expect that from him. But as Mateo touched on, the most exciting quarterback in this game was Boilermaker alum David Blau. For an undrafted rookie, this was not a poor performance. And what I like the most is he's got some moxie. He's got some character. He was fired up on the sideline. He was animated. And Kenny Galladay was also quite happy to have Blau there in at quarterback. They connected with a big play in the first drive of the game, and Kenny Galladay had a great comeback game.
Yeah, Mitchell Trubisky in the first half especially did not look good. He did have a last drive, but literally in the first half and the third quarter, really, I was like, Mitchell Trubisky is playing horrible. I do not believe in him. This is versus the Lions team that has not very much. They had 3 points in the second half, so that shows you something. But he was able to pull off the come-from-behind victory, Mitchell Trubisky, in one of his last games as a Bear. That's what I'm calling. He's not going to be here next season, or he'll be here as a backup to Marcus Mariota, Cam Newton. A lot of possibilities. We'll get into that later. Do you have anything else to say?
I do. It's a little bit of a little overview of the Lions season. The Lions have been in a lot of high-scoring affairs, a lot of big offensive games. They don't really have much of a defense going on there, but they just haven't been able to get the edge. People think that they should fire Matt Patricia. It's a second season as the Lions head coach. I don't think they should go that far, and they have quite a good future if Matt Stafford can stay healthy and they can beef up that defense.
Oh, I'm a Matt Stafford believer. I'm a Matt Patricia believer. When Matt Stafford was on the field, they did very well this season. Unfortunately, he had that back issue. I wouldn't rush him back to come this year because I think they're officially eliminated from playoff contention now. So I would think that this Lions team, they're going to have Kerryon Johnson come back off of IR next week. They have Bo Scarborough, who has been a proven good rusher after coming in to replace whatever his name is right now. I cannot forget. Kerryon Johnson. But yeah, I think the Lions have a pretty good future, and I am not down on them. Keep Matt Patricia, good defensive mind, and that is all. Next game was Bills versus Cowboys. Although we did not make predictions, I was very high on the Bills coming into this game, and that's what happened. Dak Prescott started off with a opening drive touchdown, but the rest of the game was mostly all Bills until the fourth quarter. Josh Allen had a great game. Their first touchdown was actually a John Brown touchdown pass, and it was the first non-QB touchdown pass for the Bills in 10 years. But I feel like Josh Allen has a really great future in this league.
Yeah, I was very impressed by Josh Allen. The potential has always been there, that big arm, but he's had problems with turnovers, accuracy, all that, but he was very poised in this big Turkey Day game in Jerry World. Josh Allen played very great. He was unfazed. He was confident and held his ground in the pocket, and he did work outside the pocket as usual. The potential has been there, as I said, and I think this game was a very big step.
Yeah, the one main takeaway that I'm taking from this game is Jason Garrett is fired. There's no way he's going to be here next season.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Dak has played pretty good. He was quite good in this game, but he was a little underwhelming in the stretch of it. Zeke was just okay, 71 yards, no touchdowns. The Bills now seem prime for a playoff seed, and although they may not go very far in the playoffs, I think there will be no cakewalk for a wild card or any team facing them.
Yeah, and it showed that Jason Garrett was playing for his job in this game. Early in the game, he was going for questionable fourth downs that were on all the way in their territory. So it's clearly that he was playing for his job. And now Jerry Jones, yesterday I believe, said Jason Garrett will be a coach in the NFL next year. So it's pretty likely he is no longer going to be on this Cowboys. Jerry Jones has kept him for so long, and this seems to be the last straw.
Yeah, Jason Garrett isn't much of a vocal coach or anything like that, and I think that's why Jerry Jones has kept him for so long. So Jones has felt like he's had all the power. But when your owner leaves the game early after that bad of a performance, as a head coach, as a Cowboy even, you should really be scared for the future.
All right, the last game on the Thanksgiving slate was Saints versus Falcons, and this game led the Saints to clinch the division, led by a strong performance from Taysom Hill. He blocked a punt, caught a touchdown, ran for a touchdown, and this shows Sean Payton's mastermind in how he worked Taysom Hill into this offense.
Yeah, and in a game where Drew Brees was just average, and on this Saints offensive squad, quarterback, running back, tight end, special teamer, Taysom Hill stepped up. He had a great game. The Mormon Missile is truly a team player and does whatever is asked of him 110%. I know a lot of credit to that goes to Sean Payton, but you should give a lot of credit to Taysom Hill. He's a utility player. He's able to do what he wants. He had a lot of injuries playing at BYU, and he was no highly touted quarterback coming out of the draft, but he's really made his spot at the Saints.
Yeah, it shows even when Kamara and Thomas don't have huge games, Taysom Hill can come in and be that special offensive weapon for the Saints. On the other side of the ball, the Falcons, they had Julio Jones declared inactive last minute, and then they did have Devontae Freeman come back, but he did not break out on anything. Matt Ryan had a subpar game, threw for 2 touchdowns, but also threw for 2 interceptions, and was sacked 9 times in this game.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. We talked about offense a lot for both these teams, but this Saints defense played amazing. They had 9 sacks, 2 interceptions, one of those by rookie out of Florida State, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, rookie safety. And a big reason why the Falcons were able to beat the Saints in Week 10, I believe, was a lot of pressure on Drew Brees. It seemed they had pressure on Drew Brees that entire game. They had 7 sacks, but they only had 2 this game, and that they really weren't able to get it done.
One positive side for the Falcons is Young Ho Ko. He had 2 converted onside kicks, and prior to that, there had only been 2 in the NFL. He did not make all his field goals, but he seems like he could be an onside kick specialist in the NFL. The first 10 o'clock game that we're going to go into is Titans versus Colts. And you can say what you want, but Ryan Tannehill has been 5-1 since taking over as starter for the Titans. This makes me very disappointed because I'm a Marcus Mariota stan, but he doesn't necessarily put up the statistics, but he keeps the offense afloat, and he lets Derrick Henry break out. Derrick Henry is one of the most underrated running backs in the NFL. He is so good. He does have the off weeks, but this week he ran for 149 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, you said you can say what you want talking to anyone listening to this, but I think you were talking to yourself.
Yeah.
I don't think you like Tannehill that much. I think it's more of your love for Mariota, but there really is something about this Titans team, man. When I see them go out there, they're playing hard, they're playing tough, especially in the later part of the season. It seems like no one wants to tackle Derrick Henry this time of year. On the Colts side of the ball, Jacoby Brissett really struggled this game. 25 for 41, touchdown, 2 interceptions, but Zach Pascal stepped up in the absence of star wide receiver T.Y. Hilton, 109 yards on only 7 catches. But yikes, Adam Vinatieri was 1 for 4 on field goals. That is not good. That really just kills the team. It's bad enough on a drive that you can't finish and score a touchdown, but when you can't even have a kicker that will get you 3 points at least, that's really killer.
I was just going to touch on that. Adam Vinatieri has been horrible. He has missed way too many field goals this year. If he was any other name, he would already be cut from the Colts. And now he is hurt in quotation marks, and they signed the Chase McLaughlin after he was cut from the 49ers. But yeah, one of them was blocked for a touchdown. Another one was tipped. He just is not able to get them through the uprights. It is time to hang him up for the oldest player in the NFL. But as you touched on with Jacoby Brissett, I was very unimpressed in this game. He threw 2 interceptions, and he just wasn't making the throws that he was making earlier in the season when he impressed many people. I still think that he's a good quarterback in the NFL, but he just really needs to get it together because I was very, very unimpressed with him. He didn't have much of a running game to help him out. He didn't have as many weapons, but his throws were not on target in this one.
Yeah, and going back to Ryan Tannehill, he is no elite quarterback by any measure, but he's average, and not average in the Mitch Trubisky way, average in the winning games way. And I think that's good enough for the Titans at this moment. I don't know what they're going to do in the offseason. Tannehill obviously isn't a franchise quarterback, but he's in a very good place here in Tennessee.
Yeah, that quarterback situation will be very interesting because they have 2 free agent quarterbacks. Marcus Mariota and Ryan Tannehill are both free agents after the season. So if they keep Tannehill, which I don't think is the right move, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't want them to keep Marcus Mariota either because I want him to have a better situation. But then also, yeah, that should be interesting. But the Colts were up 17-7 on this game, and the Titans scored 24 straight points. So yeah, the Titans completely dominated the second half of this game to pull out this big victory for them, to keep them in the playoff race in the AFC. The next game, 49ers versus Ravens. Now I'm going to stay right from the start. I was very upset after the Seahawks game for the 49ers, but I was very proud of the 49ers in this one. They stayed in the game against the explosive Lamar Jackson and the Ravens running game, and the Ravens running game, literally, if it was under 5 yards on a 4th down or 3rd down, they were going to get it because that read option with the Lamar Jackson and Mark Ingram, they either pounded up the middle with Mark Ingram, ran it outside on Lamar Jackson. So I was very proud the 49ers stayed in this game, and Raheem Mostert really broke out for the 49ers. He ran outside, and he was the one thing they couldn't stop on this. The Ravens defense couldn't stop. Jimmy Garoppolo made some good throws. He had that good touchdown on 4th down, but I'm proud of the 49ers in this game.
Yeah, there's a little less of a somber tone for this podcast after this 49ers loss. I kind of feel like a Pats fan, if I'm being honest. This was a big loss, a big game, but I'm not too upset about it. I like what I saw from this team, as Mateo said. And Jimmy G, he played well, yes, but I needed to see more production. It was really helped out that Mostert stepped in and balled out. We were able to pound the ball on outside zone runs, and that really worked on this Ravens offense. And, Lamar did his thing. He's always going to have a great game passing or running, but it was on a smaller scale. We held him. Teams have been getting blown out by the Ravens, and this was a good, close game, exactly as I thought, but I really wish we could have came out.
Yeah, our defense did a really good job at, keeping it so, he didn't score too much and, holding him under, and they even forced that big fumble, which was a real turning point, or it could have been. But, yeah, their team is so good. They have a really good system, really good offensive system, and I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl rematch. One thing I'll say is we missed the field goal. Robbie Gould, really short on that one. It would have been tied at the end of the game if he made that one. But I will say one thing. The Super Bowl is in Miami. Better weather. In better weather, we could pull out the victory, and I'm very confident in this 49ers team going forward.
I think maybe we should slow down with the Super Bowl talk. Playoffs, yes, but I don't know if we go there yet. Let's be realistic. Let's be calculated. But I give props to this Ravens team. They have bought into Lamar Jackson fully. And one thing I didn't know about Lamar before this season is his leadership qualities. There's a video, I saw it on the Bleacher Report on Instagram, where after his first fumble, he went and he apologized to every single member of his team. And not only does that display him as a leader, but the Ravens' responses after that shows how they bought into him. They were okay. They knew he was going to go out there and ball out. He's true to his word, and he's playing well. I can't take anything away from him.
Yeah, I saw that too. That was a really big moment, and it showed that the Ravens were behind them in the responses. None of them were down. None of them didn't respond like the video earlier in the season with Dwayne Haskins when he said, "Tell me, can you do something for me?" And they just completely ignored him. It shows that the team is completely behind Lamar Jackson, and this Ravens system has a real bright future. The next game of 2 teams that may or may not have bright futures, it will be shown in next year's draft. The Jets versus the Bengals. Andy Dalton came back and he had himself a game. I was completely down on Andy Dalton, but he was able to come back, maybe his final career victory or final career Bengals victory, because he's probably not going to stay next season. Well, it's all to be shown, but he was able to throw a touchdown to Tyler Boyd to make him the leading a touchdown thrower for the Bengals, and it was a real good moment. It showed he had a chip on his shoulder and that he wanted to come back and win a game for this Bengals team.
Sammy. Come on, Darnold. I'm trying so hard. You didn't play horrible, but you have to win this game. No touchdowns, no interceptions, all right. You need to win against this Bengals team. They are not good. But one thing I'll say is Le'Veon Bell literally doesn't exist. He's done nothing. I don't know his place on this team. He doesn't have a place on this team. I feel bad for him because he's obviously an elite running back, but it may be Adam Gase or just the situation there. It's not working well for him. But Dalton is back and better than ever. We're still collectively low on Andy Dalton, but he's better than ever. His hair was extra red today. It was fired up. 243 yards, 1 touchdown. And Mixon also found the end zone once.
Yeah, the Jets really killed themselves in this game. They had 10 flags for 106 yards. And Le'Veon Bell does not mesh with this Jet system. I don't know what it is, maybe him and Adam Gase, but Sam Darnold threw the ball 48 times for 28 completions. He averaged 5 yards per attempt. Literally, the Jets just couldn't finish drive. They couldn't march down the field, and it was just a really poor showing for this Jets team that has had a pretty good last couple of weeks. But yeah, they had 34 points in each of the last 3 games, but they could not capitalize in this one.
No running the table.
No running the table. The next game is Browns versus Steelers, and Duck Hodges came back after a second quarter rough showing. They couldn't, in the first half, it doesn't seem like they could drive downfield at all, but at the end of the first half, he threw a bomb to James Washington, who he went hunting with earlier in the week, and it was weird because I would think that Mason Rudolph and James Washington would have a good connection because they both went to Oklahoma State together, but it seems like Duck Hodges and James Washington have a really good connection, and the Steelers were able to come from behind and take the victory from the Browns. And it seems like the Browns aren't making the playoff. The Steelers are still in the hunt. And wow, it seems like Duck Hodges is their quarterback going forward.
Yeah, Baker played very poorly for this Browns team this game. 18 for 32, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And even so, the generally explosive Nick Chubb was shut down by the steel curtain defense, 3.6 yards per carry. And Duck Hodges played pretty good. It was nothing ecstatic, nothing amazing. He didn't blow it out of the water, but this defense played very well. Duck Hodges had 1 touchdown, 1 interception. As Mateo talked about, he has a very good connection with James Washington. He's had a few big weeks. And Duck Hodges is not the guy for the future, but for the rest of the season, they're probably going to keep him. Don't bring Mason Rudolph back out there.
Yeah.
He's got a fat face.
Yeah, but this Steelers team, they are down 10-0, and they scored 20 straight points. He's Baker Mayfield. Some may say it was the injury. He had a little bit of a hand injury, which a lot of people are pointing to. But in the second half, they were not able to score except a field goal with 7 minutes left, their final score. But yeah, Baker Mayfield had a very poor showing. And Joe Hayden, the former Brown, clinched the game with an interception in the fleeting seconds. So the Steelers were able to pull off this divisional victory after they lost the Browns a couple weeks prior in the infamous helmet gate. So, yeah, they're able to get the win in this one.
Yeah, at the running back position for the Steelers team, rookie running back Benny Snell, he stepped up. He had a lot of carries this game in the absence of James Conner, and he really made good use of them for a rookie. 63 yards, 1 touchdown. There is hope there for the Steelers at that position, but the Browns' playoffs hopes, as Mateo talked about, down. Nothing.
All right, the Steelers have a really good situation in the running game. They have James Conner, they have Jalen Samuels, and they have Benny Snell going forward. I can see James Conner and Benny Snell handcuffing for the future. James Conner, of course, getting a little bit bigger of a role. But yeah, the Steelers don't have much of a very good quarterback situation, but the running game is good. The game that really surprised me was Eagles versus Dolphins. The Eagles seemed to be in control all game, even up by 2 touchdowns, 28-14. But the Dolphins team kept fighting, and with their special trick play, kicker to punter touchdown, they won this. That wasn't their go-ahead score, but they won this game. Very surprising to me. The Dolphins, everyone thought they were going to go over 0-16, and they won 3 games. So this Eagles team, I don't know. There's a lot of questions being brought up. If Carson Wentz is their franchise quarterback, he didn't have a bad game. He threw for 3 touchdowns, around 200 yards, but it's going to be. He's like everyone. All the Eagles fans are all defending Carson Wentz, but it will be interesting if he is their franchise quarterback or if they're buying in too high.
Yeah, that trick play really did turn the tide on this game. But what the heck, Eagles? How do you not win this game? Wentz actually played good, as Mateo talked about. 310 yards, 3 touchdowns. This exemplifies that not all the blame is on Wentz. I found myself to be somewhat of a Carson Wentz defender in recent weeks. I like him. I think he's a very good quarterback. If you think they would rather have Nick Foles got benched in the game. So we'll get to that later.
Minshew mania.
This defense let withering bones Ryan Fitzmagic go for 365 yards and 3 touchdowns on them. Devontae Parker was literally amazing in this game. He won every single one-on-one ball, every single jump ball. And this highly touted Eagles D-line only had 2 sacks against this poor Dolphins offensive line.
Yeah, Devontae Parker, some may say, the fantasy waiver wire ad of the year because he's went crazy this year. Ryan Fitzpatrick literally just has to throw it up to him, and he will go up, get it, and run for the touchdown. There was an unbelievable one where it was literally a 50-50 ball, as you said, and he literally stayed on his feet and ran to the touchdown. He is a premier wide receiver in this league that a lot of people don't talk about. But he's doing it with Ryan Fitzpatrick as quarterback, which says a lot. It's no Drew Brees, Tom Brady, or anyone, Aaron Rodgers throwing it to him. So that shows his skill. But yeah, this Eagles team, that was a very disappointing loss. Doug Peterson after the game said, "Oh yeah, we played a very good team. Oh yeah, you played the 3-9 Miami Dolphins with Ryan Fitzpatrick as their quarterback." Some may say, "Oh, Fitzmagic, oh he's a good quarterback." No, withering bones, as you said. But yeah, this Eagles team, this was a crucial loss for them. A win would have put them on in the driver's seat for this division. The probably worst division in the NFL now with the Cowboys, Eagles, Redskins, Giants. But yeah, horrible loss for the Eagles. Miami Dolphins, they're going to get a quarterback in the draft, but we'll see who it is. But yeah, this was a surprising game, as was the next one. Redskins versus Panthers. The Panthers, as with the Eagles, were in the driver's seat, but the Redskins running game with Darius Geis is finally breaking out. He's finally being the running back that they drafted. 129 yards and 2 touchdowns, paired with Adrian Peterson running for like 100 yards and a touchdown. They didn't even need Dwayne Haskins. They didn't even need a quarterback in this game to take the victory. And after the game, Ron Rivera said, "Oh yeah, I'm not worried about my job. We just need to focus." And then the shocker of the NFL season so far, Ron Rivera, Riverboat Ron, was fired. This shocked me. I let out an audible gasp. He's been their coach for 9 seasons, and this proves that Cam Newton is likely gone because he was very emotional after hearing this news. I think there's no way Cam Newton's their quarterback next year.
Yeah, Dwayne Haskins alone would not have won this game for the Redskins. But this Redskins run game, they just trampled over the Panthers. Second-year running back Darius Geis in his second game back, he went off. 129 yards, 2 touchdowns, and even Adrian Peterson had 99 yards and a touchdown. Kyle Allen was straight trash in this game. He seemed really lost and confused. He was just running around trying to make plays happen, but he really wasn't getting anything done. Christian McCaffrey had a slow day for his normal standards, but he, a running back, passed Panther great wide receiver Steve Smith for the franchise most reception yards through 3 seasons.
Yeah, that is a big stat. But what I was going to say is Kyle Allen started this game very well. He was 8 for 8 and 2 touchdowns on his first 2 drives. And then in the next 9 drives, 8 punts and an interception. They could not do anything after that, and it was very disappointing for this Panthers offense. The first 1 o'clock game was Giants versus Packers. Aaron Rodgers had a big bounce-back game, and he played unbelievable in this snowy game. Daniel Jones, he started off the game pretty well. He threw a touchdown to start it off, but then he threw 3 interceptions and got hurt, which is going to lead to an Eli Manning start next week, probably. The farewell that everyone deserved, but nobody wanted. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers played very well with no help from the running game. Aaron Jones ran for 18 yards on 11 attempts, but Aaron Rodgers really spread the ball around, threw to like 11 different, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm not going to count, a lot of different receivers. And yeah, the snow did not stop him in this game.
Yeah, Rodgers was just slinging the ball around in this poor game. As Mateo said, he produced all the offense. Both Allen Lazard and Devontae Adams had very big days. Allen Lazard has proved to be a very nice complement to Devontae Adams.
Yeah, I think Allen Lazard was an undrafted free agent last year for the Jags, and then they dropped him, and the Packers picked him up. He's been a really good wide receiver for them.
Yeah, as I said, he's been a good complement to Devontae Adams. Thanks for interrupting me, Mateo. Aaron Rodgers has seemed happy. He's not very content with many wide receivers, but he seems to have a good connection with Allen Lazard. Danny Dimes was just garbage in this game. He's had real problems with interceptions. I think he's probably the guy, I don't know for how long, for this Giants offense, for this Giants team, but he's got to fix up those turnovers.
Yeah, Pat Shurmur is killing Saquon Barkley in this team. He literally just runs them up the middle. No creative design for the runs. It's literally like HB draw, HB draw, HB draw. Oh, HB inside. All right, I could learn that playing Madden. All right, but yeah, Saquon Barkley literally just runs up the middle. They can't get loose or anything, and Pat Shurmur is gone after the season. I believe, at least. But yeah, this Giants team, this offense was not able to produce on this game after the start, and Aaron Rodgers just dismantled the defense. Next was Buccaneers versus Jags, and Nick Foles has been benched. Minshew Magic is back. I'll get into the Buccaneers, but this Jags offense, you could see so much difference when Gardner Minshew, he did throw an interception, but the offense just looked so much more alive when he was on the field compared to Nick Foles. That experiment seemed to be failed, but yeah, I'll let Dylan get into it. Go ahead.
Yeah, but the real breaking news coming out of this game was Jameis Winston didn't throw an interception. Oh my goodness. Woo-hoo! But also no touchdowns, and surprisingly, he didn't throw for like 400 yards because he didn't have many attempts. But Peyton Barber, running back who I thought was benched for Ronald Jones, but Ronald Jones was benched. I believe he didn't pick up a blitz assignment, and it resulted in Jameis Winston getting cracked, and he got benched after that. And Peyton Barber found the end zone twice. This Bucs defense also had a touchdown. Foles was just not good at all. They just threw Minshew in there after the first half rather. And there is a spark, like Mateo said, there is a spark when he comes in, but it's just a tough situation. Fournette had a very slow game, 2.7 yards per carry.
Yeah, you did talk about Jameis Winston, but it can't be a Jameis Winston game without a turnover. He did fumble. Give him props. He needs to have at least one turnover per game.
Small hands.
Yeah, small hands. Him and Derek Carr. But we'll get into it later. But yeah, Peyton Barber ran for 2 touchdowns. He was able to break loose on a couple of runs. Ronald Jones, yeah, it seems like they switch running backs every game. They even said that Ronald Jones will be the starter next week, but it literally changes in the game. He ran for 6 rushes for 8 yards in the game, But Brashard Perryman, out of nowhere, I believe he's on the Ravens for a little bit. He's been a good target for Jameis Winston when Mike Edwards and Chris Godwin don't have the fancy days that everybody deserves. But yeah, Jameis Winston really did try to force it to Evans. He threw it to him 11 times for 4 receptions, but it was a win. This Buccaneers team is so weird. They get the wins, but it is not in good fashion. They did play this Jags team, but the real contributant, I don't know if that's a word, probably not, but a real good sign in this Broncos team was first-rounder Devin White out of LSU. He had an interception and returned a fumble for a touchdown. So he seems to be the guy that they drafted.
Seems to be the guy
they wanted out of the draft. The next game that kind of surprised me, I thought the Cardinals actually had a shot at winning this game based on how they played against the 49ers. But Jared Goff, after the last couple of horrible weeks, he came out and threw. He threw for 424 yards. I think he threw for like 300 yards in the first half. But they dismantled this Cardinals defense. Todd Gurley is getting involved. He's coming back after a very poor first half. And Jared Goff had a great connection with Robert Woods in this game for 172 yards receiving. But this was a very good offensive game that the Rams really needed to jumpstart their team. And it was Kyler Murray's worst start of his rookie career.
Yes, and that is important to mention that he is a rookie, but he was neutralized in this game. They had no run game, and this defense generated no pressure. And Goff is not an elite quarterback. He's being paid like one, but he's not. But when he has a clean pocket, he is close to that. He is close to elite. When he has a clean pocket and he's able to move around freely and throw the ball with no pressure in his face, he plays very well, and that's exemplified in this game. But McVay, he really does all the work. He reads the defenses for him. He puts the play calls in, and you see that. Goff gets frazzled really easily by pressure, and he's confused by defenses often. I don't think he's the guy, but they paid him like it, so, I mean, there's nothing they can do there.
It's going to be interesting, like, long-term, who's, like, if Carson Wentz or Jared Goff end up, like, the first two picks in the draft end up being, like, well, it's kind of similar to, well, it's not similar because they're much better, but the Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston situation in that 2015 draft, 2016, two drafts in a row where the first two picks were quarterbacks, and we'll see how they pan out long-term. Marcus Mariota definitely didn't pan out for the Titans, but hopefully he gets another shot. But, yeah, the Cardinals' only score was in GT, garbage time. Kyler Murray was able to get a little rush for a touchdown. But the boat got in the game. I'm going to say that every single time the boat gets in the game this season. I think he has like 3. He was even able to complete a pass for 3 yards. Yeah. Very proud of my guy, Blake Bortles. But, yeah, this game was not entertaining, as was much of the 1 o'clock slate for this week 13. All right, so the next game was Raiders versus Chiefs, and it wasn't even that Patrick Mahomes had a huge, big offensive game, but they completely stopped the Raiders' offense. Derek Carr had a horrible game. Josh Jacobs was the only bright spot. He ran for around 100 yards, but wasn't able to score any touchdowns. But, yeah, Derek Carr made some horrible throws. But the Chiefs' rushing attack, they had 3 different guys who rushed for a touchdown, which was big. Andy Reid always has a history of having big games coming off the bye, so that was big. So, yeah, you can get into it now.
Yeah, this is the second week in a row the Raiders have gotten smashed. This week it's kind of forgivable considering they played the Chiefs, but the week before they played the Jets, so that's interesting. But Carr wasn't exactly horrid. He was 20 for 30, 222 yards, 1 touchdown, but 2 interceptions. Josh Jacobs did have a very good day. Part of his explosiveness and his fresh wheels must be the fact that he had a limited use at Alabama. And the only bright spot for this Raiders team, as it has been for the most of the season, was Darren Waller. He had a very big game, 100 yards receiving.
Yeah, Juan Thornhill of the Kansas City Chiefs was able to have a pick 6 in this one, which was very helpful for them. But, yeah, Derek Carr looked horrible. Not much more to say about this game. It was a complete blowout from start to finish, which I actually thought that the Raiders were going to lose by less than 11, if you catch my drift. But, yeah, that was a very bad game for the Raiders. It wasn't even like a big Patrick Mahomes game, as I said, but this pretty much gave the Chiefs a big advantage in the division because if the Raiders won this game, they would actually be in front of the division. So it was the win that the Chiefs needed, and they completely did it. In the same division was Chargers versus Broncos, and Drew Lock came back after coming into his first NFL start, and he had a pretty good game. He threw for a touchdown, interception, but it seems like he already has a good. He threw for 2 touchdowns and interception. Mm-hmm. Him and Cortland Sutton already have a good connection, which is good. But I'm going to zoom right to the end of the game, late fourth quarter, literally horrible by the Chargers. That Drew Lock threw it up, and the Chargers committed a horrible pass interference penalty, which gave the Broncos 40 yards and set up a Brandon McManus game-winning field goal. So they completely threw the game in the toilet for them, which they had a real good shot at winning.
Yeah, I guess Rivers wasn't horrible in this game. He missed on only 9 passes, 265 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 1 interception. Melvin Gordon also had 9 yards. Rivers is probably over the hill, which is kind of surprising. He really surged on at the end of last season, but he's just not been able to get it done this season. The real story, as Mateo said, was rookie out of Missouri, Drew Lock. He didn't play amazing, but for a rookie who was the 3rd string coming into the season, he played very well.
Yeah, shout out to USA Today. I think I saw that they predicted the Chargers to win the Super Bowl. I think it was versus the Eagles, too, so... Great predictions right there, buddy. But, yeah, I think they had the Ravens as, 3rd in the division or something, ridiculous. But, yeah, this game came down to the very end. I'm actually a Drew Lock believer. I think he's going to be the future of this Broncos team. And it was a game. It was the only good game of the 1 o'clock hour, but the Broncos were able to come out with the victory. led by Vic Fangio. The last game was Sunday Night Football. The second to last game was Sunday Night Football. Patriots versus Texans. And after Deshaun Watson hasn't been great as of recent, he had a big game against this stellar Patriots defense who didn't play so stellar in this one. Threw for 3 touchdowns, had a QBR of 140, and even caught a touchdown, which it was kind of like a pitch. I thought it was a run, but they called it DeAndre Hopkins touchdown pass, but he caught that one / ran for it. So it was a big game for Deshaun Watson. The offense was popping off on all cylinders, and Bill O'Brien finally got a win against Bill Belichick. He used to be an assistant for Bill Belichick, and assistants always have a bad history against him, but he finally had a really big game against him. Tom Brady did not have a very big game. He threw 2 touchdowns in the final 4 minutes, so that padded his stats, but very disappointing for this Patriots offense.
Oh, Brady's over the hill, blah, blah, blah.
I don't think so.
He didn't even play that bad. 326 yards, 3 touchdowns, an interception. He had 2 in the final 4 minutes of a very close game. He almost brought them back here.
We had an onside kick that was touched by a Patriot, could have even led them downfield, and if they scored a touchdown, they would have went ahead.
Yeah, he has no one to throw to, no one to block for him. It's just tough for him at this age. Obviously, his ability to sling the ball downfield has obviously gone down as well, but it's just tough when your O-line isn't able to block you and you're not able to throw it to anybody stellar like Gronk or anyone like that.
Yeah, the Patriots aren't doing a really great job of supplying the GOAT with the weapons that he needs. He's literally the third leading receiver in this game was Jacoby Meyer, and he's literally just dumping it off to wide receivers because he has nobody else to throw it to. It's you have to supply this guy with some weapons. You can't just expect this quarterback to turn any white wide receiver into the next GOAT, next Super Bowl MVP like Julian Edelman. But yeah, he kept the Patriots in this game. An onside kick, as I said, would have even gave him a shot to win it. But I'm not going to diminish Deshaun Watson. Yeah, Deshaun Watson had a huge game, big win for this Texans team, and they have the division lead. They're in stronghold in this division after the Colts haven't been stellar as of recent.
Yeah, I feel like the same thing happens every single season for the Patriots. They start off a little slow, and then they pick it up. They get a big win, and then they get a big loss, and everyone thinks everyone's down on them, and then they make it to the playoffs, and they just turn it all around.
And win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I expect the same thing to happen this year, if I'm being honest.
The last game was Monday Night Football, and this was a good game throughout the whole game. I think if the Vikings had Dalvin Cook and he didn't go down with injury, they would have been a much better situation to win this game. You can say what you want, Kirk Cousins in prime time. Kirk Cousins has never won a Monday Night Football game, but his one interception was not his fault. It was in Stephon Diggs' hands. He kind of hit it up, and it was an unbelievable interception by the Seahawks. But Russell Wilson had a big game. He threw it downfield, but the running game was also stellar. Chris Carson ran for 102 and a touchdown. Rashad Penny, which I think they drafted him to be a good handcuff, and he ran for 74 yards and a touchdown. Finally had another good game. This play calling by the Seahawks was good throughout. Pete Carroll did a really good job, and it was a good game. This could be a playoff rematch. I was rooting for the Vikings the whole game because now the Seahawks are in division lead, unfortunately. But yeah, this was a good primetime game.
It's okay. We'll see the Seahawks again in a few weeks, and that's going to be a big, tough game, and I think we're going to come away with that one. But talking about this game, Mateo talked about play calling, and when this run game is getting going and they're able to work off play action and just sling the ball downfield, that's when the Seahawks offense is at the best. It's great that both Carson and Penny had big games. I saw a clip where Chris Carson, after a very big run to set the Seahawks team up in the red zone, he subbed himself out of the game so Rashad Penny could get in and punch it in the end zone. That's great to see. Chris Carson, he's had a lot of fumble problems, but it's nice to see that he has a good connection with his running brother, Rashad Penny.
Yeah, it's good to have handcuffs that are good with each other. I don't know if Austin Eckler and Melvin Gordon are like that, because Eckler works his way into the passing game, but they did never have a good running game together. But that's besides the point. Yeah, it was a good playing. And the real turning point in this game was a 4th down where they had a fake punt to Travis Homer, I believe, and he ran 30 yards, and that was the real turning point. A good Vikings drive could have put them ahead because they were up in the 4th quarter. But the play calling, Pete Carroll's a great coach. I know he's our division rival, but I always had great respect for Pete Carroll. But Yeah, this was a big game, big win for the Seahawks, but I'm glad that we get to face them again, hopefully. This is going to be an interesting last, I think, 4 weeks or 2 weeks or whatever it is. All right, you done?
Yeah.
All right. Next, we are going into our weekly pick. Thursday Night Football is Cowboys versus Bears. I think the Cowboys bounce back. Mitch Trubisky has a poor performance, and the Cowboys win this game.
Yeah, this game might be a little bit of a stinker, but I think the Cowboys are going to edge over the Bears quite easily.
Colts versus Buccaneers. I'm really torn. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that the Colts are going to pull off a victory. Marlon Mack is coming back, I believe. It's going to really help bring a load off of Jacoby Brissett, and they're going to win this one.
Yeah, I was edging more towards the Bucks before I found out the fact that Marlon Mack is coming back. Jacoby Brissett has struggled the past few weeks. I think I'm going to take the Colts. Brissett isn't going to need to be amazing, and I think that Marlon Mack will play well.
Next is Ravens versus Bills, and I think this is going to be a close first couple of quarters, but then the Ravens are going to pull out in the second half, and they're going to have a wide, big victory.
Yeah, it's really hard for me to pick against Lamar. I think this Bills team has looked very well, especially Josh Allen in the last game against the Cowboys, but I think Lamar's just going to outplay him, and the Ravens are going to win.
Lions versus Vikings divisional matchup. Kirk Cousins has a big game. Dalvin Cook comes back, and the Vikings pull off this victory.
Yeah, if Matthew Stafford was still playing, this game would be a different story. I think David Blau will play. They'll play quite well, but the Vikings should easily handle the Lions.
Redskins versus Packers. Aaron Rodgers has a big game, and they easily pull off this one.
Yeah, the only reason that the Redskins would possibly edge it over here against the Packers is this run game. This Packers run defense is horrible, and they have the Redskins in that, they have a nice 1-2 punch with AP and Darius Geis, but I think that Aaron Rodgers will continue on with his great game from last week, and the Packers will beat the Redskins.
Broncos versus Texans. I feel like this is going to be I think it's going to be a close start, maybe even close to the end, but I think the Texans will pull off the victory.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be a big test for Drew Lock and this big offensive scoring game, and I think the Texans with Deshaun Watson are going to edge that over.
Niners versus Saints. Kyle Shanahan's play call is going to edge us over the Saints, and we're going to pull off the road victory.
Niners, baby!
Next is Bengals versus Browns. Baker bounces back 3 Bs, and they're going to beat the Bengals. Wow, that's a lot of Bs.
I almost want to take the hot hand here in Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton.
But I don't think you can call it much of a hot hand. I'm taking the Browns. It's going to be a big bounce-back game for them.
Panthers versus Falcons. I think this team is going to be crushed, and they're not going to have as much energy after Riverboat's Ron's departure, and I think the Falcons are going to pull off this home win.
I thought maybe we'd have some contention on this pick, and just for the sake of that, I'm taking the Panthers.
All right, Dolphins versus Jets. I think the Jets are going to win this game. I don't believe that. I don't know. I think Sam Darnold's going to bounce back and have a game. I rarely say that, but I think so.
Oh, snap. I'm picking the Dolphins.
Oh, my God.
My
wow.
guy, Sam Darnold.
This is a mix-up.
I know, but I'm picking them. I really feel like they're going to win this game.
I think Le'Veon Bell's going to have a big game. Hopefully. All right, next is Chargers versus Jags. I think that Minshew magic is going to come out, and the Chargers are going to win. The Chargers are going to win. I think it's going to be close. Minshew's going to keep it good, but I think that there's going to be a really good rushing attack, and the Chargers pull off the win.
I think Phil Rivers is going to turn over the ball a few times too many in this game. Minshew's going to play well, and the Jags are going to beat the Chargers.
Next is Chiefs at Patriots. I'm so torn on this game. This is going to be a good game, and it's like during the day. It's 1 o'clock, not like a prime time matchup, but I'm so torn. But I'm going to say the Patriots are going to win at home.
Yeah, if this game was in Arrowhead, I feel like it'd be a lot easier for me to pick the Chiefs. I'm still leaning towards that a little bit, but the Patriots have something to prove now. People are doubting them once again, as always, and I think this is going to put them right back in the position. I think the Patriots are going to win.
Another one I'm torn on is Titans versus Raiders, but I think home victory for Derek Carr, and the Raiders are going to win this one.
Believe it or not, I'm not torn on this game at all. I saw this game. I was pretty confident in Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, and this Titans team. I'm taking the Titans.
Next is Steelers versus Cardinals, and I'm going to pick the Cardinals. Yeah, I'm going to pick the Steelers. I'm going to pick the Steelers. James Conner's coming back, so I think James Conner's going to have a big game, and Duck is going to play pretty well on the road.
Yeah, the biggest factor is probably going to be this defense. I think Kyler Murray's going to struggle. I'm taking the Steelers over the Cardinals.
Next is Seahawks versus Rams, and the Seahawks easily pull off this primetime victory.
Yeah, Goff is definitely going to come back down to earth. I think he's going to get embarrassed in this game, and I think the Seahawks are going to win.
Giants versus Eagles, Eli Manning starting. Eagles win.
Oh, man, that is true. The Eagles kind of just did lose to Ryan Fitzpatrick, but I'm going to take them in a big bounce-back game at home here over the Giants.
That is all for picks. I didn't mention it, but me and Dylan are currently tied up with a 50% winning percentage. He's 4-4. I'm 5-5-2. And now we're going to go into Nick's hockey segment. Hockey!
Hockey.
The Sharks are doing really well. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games. They lost a game to the Capitals, a very good team, but otherwise they're doing pretty well. The Predators aren't doing well, however. They lost 3-2 in overtime last night to the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Boston Bruins have a 8-game win streak. They've won 9 out of their last 10. They're at the top of the Atlantic Division, and they're tied for the Eastern Conference. Evander Kane of the Sharks avoids suspension after an elbow headshot to Capitals defenseman Radko Gudas. He was fined $5,000, and the same exact thing happened to Ryan Johansson of the Predators.
All right, now we're going to get into college football. I got into it a little bit earlier, but first we're going to talk about the Pac-12 championship game on Friday. I will be there. I think Justin Herbert's going to have a big game, and they're going to stop this Utah offense. Justin Herbert's going to throw for at least 2 touchdowns, and Oregon pull off a big victory.
So for those that don't know, it's going to be number 5 ranked Utah versus number 13 Oregon. Next is the Big 12 championship game, which is number 6 Oklahoma versus number 7 Baylor.
I think Oklahoma, Jalen Hurts has a big game, and they beat Baylor.
Next up is SEC's championship, number 2 LSU versus number 4 Georgia.
I think this is going to be close, but I think Joe Burrow is going to pull off the victory and clinch his number 1 overall status in the NFL draft.
The rest of these are pretty, they're notable games, but they're pretty obvious. ACC championship, number 3 Clemson versus number 3 Virginia is going to happen. Big 10, the Ohio State ranked number 1 versus number 8 Wisconsin.
The
Ohio State.
That is all for everything. One thing I forgot to note that was pretty interesting is Carmelo Anthony was NBA Player of the Week. You got to add a little bit of every sport in there. So, yeah, he won Player of the Week. A lot of people thought he was washed, but he's been a really good addition for this Trailblazers team. Luka Doncic has been on fire for the Mavericks, and I think with another superstar, they would be very good. Not another superstar, but just another solid player. They do have Kristaps, and he hasn't been like very good connection with Luka, and the Lakers are on fire. The Lakers have been red hot. The Warriors suck, worst team in the NBA. Hopefully we get a high draft pick once everyone's healed for next year. But that has been the Weekly Assist. My name is Mateo Reynes.
My name is Nick Kennealy.
My name is Dylan Freeman, and this is signing out. Thank you. We've been on a hiatus. We're happy to be back here. Have a great week.
Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next week.